Well, it's a pretty grey day today. Not really the type of day where I'd be looking to take some nice landscape shots with lots of nice blue sky in it, that's for sure. So what I've decided to do is come to a fairly local woodland, explore the area, see if I can get any nice shots, things where dramatic sunny lighting doesn't matter too much, more look at composition, maybe find some interesting trees, perhaps some more intimate shots. So that's what I've got in mind today. Let's see what I can do. So after a little bit of exploring, I've found the first image I want to capture today. Just ahead of me here I've got some nice rocks with some moss on them, which is adding some nice colour to such a dull day as today. Then just beyond them we've got some more rocks which are pointing across the river to some very interesting trees which seem to have some sort of growth on them. It could be algae, it could be moss, whatever it is, I don't know, but it adds some interest to the image. Then we've got the river itself, which has got some substance, some sort of very subtle foam floating on top, which is adding some nice patterns to it. So I'm going to do a slightly long exposure on this, not too long because I don't want to get completely rid of that, but just long enough to create some interesting movement, some interesting patterns in the river. Then beyond that, again, further in the distance, we've got some very nice interesting trees with some growth on them as well to match the ones on the left hand side. I'm not too interested in taking in the sky, to be honest, today. It's very dull, so I'm going to get set up and take this image. It's going to be a little bit difficult. I'm quite close to the river. There's not a lot of room to work with, but I'll see what I can do. That was a lot of fun. I will feel really rewarded if I end up liking that picture, which I'm sure I will. I put a lot of effort into getting it. The ground was difficult because there wasn't a lot of ground to stand on. There was lots of slippery wet grass, tree branches and so on. And composition, again in photography, is vital, and it was really difficult to get the composition the way I wanted it. It was easy to see what I wanted, but getting into position with a tripod so I could get a long exposure was very, very difficult. There was not enough ground basically, there was river and everything getting in the way, so I'm going to feel really rewarded with that image. I ended up using a polariser because it took some of the sheen off the top of the water and it gave the water a tremendous dark black look, which really enhanced the image. I also used a 6-stop ND filter to get my shutter speed down to about 20 seconds, so it looks really nice. I'm hoping that I'll like it as much when I see it when I actually go home into post-processing. But yeah, I'm going to feel really rewarded because I put a lot of effort into getting this image. As I walked along, this scene here caught my eye. So I'm down at the river bank, and where the river actually meets the bank, there's some wonderful rocks and this lovely sweeping curve which leads your eye out onto the river and across to that old tree at the far side. It's got a very old, soft appearance. Its branches are like sagging down towards the river, and they've got wonderful texture to them. And also I had the fortune for the light to come out briefly and light the tree and some of the ground under and just beyond it. It was subtle, but it just gave it that extra highlight. Then the clouds broke a little bit. We got some definition and colour in the sky, which really enhances the image as well. I'm using the polariser again. It's not having a huge effect on this particular image due to the direction of the sun. It had more effect in my previous image, but it is darkening the river just a bit, which makes it worth putting on in my opinion. And I'm also using my 6-stop ND filter as well, just to give me about a 4 to 5 second exposure, just to smooth out the water a little bit. There's not a huge amount of movement in it, so 4 to 5 second exposure time is plenty. So I'm quite pleased with this image, and I hope you like it. I'll put it up for you to see now. Behind me here is the next image I'm going to capture, and I'm quite excited about this one. Over at the far side of the river we've got splashes of colour due to the moss, and also there's a tree with some standout leaves on it as well. Then of course we've got the dark colour of the river, which I'm going to darken further with my polariser, and there's going to be great contrast there with the foam, the white foam that's on top. And I'm also going to use a long exposure, and it's going to have abstract elements to it, this image. I intend getting my exposure right to create interesting patterns in the river and lead your eye. Also of course these interesting rocks down on the river itself, and we've some over at the top right side of the frame as well. And quite excited as well because in a day like this, this type of image will work really well. If it was a summer's day and there was harsh lighting, it may not work as well to me, because I think sometimes when there's light it can detract your eye from things, it can cause a lot of glare, and there's just elements there that even a polariser can't get rid of. So I'm quite excited for this image. Going to have abstract elements, lots of nice patterns, contrast, dark and light, and interesting splashes of colour at the far side. So I'm going to take this image and see what it looks like. So that's going to be my last image for this particular video. I hope you've enjoyed watching. I came out on quite a dull day weather-wise, and I think I've managed to get 3 quite nice images considering the conditions. So if you've enjoyed it, please feel free to leave a like, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe if you'd like to see more landscape photography vlogs. But for now, thanks so much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one.